Hi everyone, it's Stephanie. Uh, you know me as watercolor artiste, and I am the artist at midlifeartist.com. Welcome to another Wednesday impromptu live stream. Sometimes I call it "This is not a tutorial" because I don't do tutorials. I'm just getting along on my own barely. Who am I to teach anyone else anything? Yeah, maybe a degreed artist, but I'm certainly not great in practice. So I'm still learning a lot of things from a lot of people much younger than I. So I'm more of a student than I am of a teacher, um, at least in art. I can be a teacher in other things. But in any case, if you've joined me on past live streams on Wednesdays, then you know I've been working on this painting. Um, and I really haven't touched it, really, I think, since the last time, which was last week, last Wednesday. I started in on another painting that is my second in my Admirable Masculinity series because I want to counter the horrible cultural toxic masculinity narrative. I am married to a wonderful white heterosexual man. I have two wonderful young adult white heterosexual male sons. I am the daughter of a wonderful man. I have a brother. I have a lot of men in my life who deserve respect, care, and they do not deserve the label of being toxic for their masculinity. So uh, it's very passionate to me to counter that narrative. I'm a mama bear. I believe in the feminine for us women. I think it's beautiful. I think it can be sexy, and it's honorable. And I think having the masculine be back to its God given state of strong, honorable, leader like should be first and foremost. And when people have a good relationship, those two uh, characters and characteristics really complement each other. And so, yeah. Anyway, I got off on a tangent way too early. Anyway, but yeah, so I've got two paintings going. This one, which I've been working on, and I got a new one started. I'll talk more about that when I'm working on it. I got the background laid in for it. I'm going to start doing the foreground in oils as soon as I'm done with this. I got to discipline myself and get this one done first. So yeah, I'm going to load up my chat at least from Rumble because usually that's where everyone me from. If you're joining me from YouTube, great. I can't get a chat box in my OBS so I could see everyone's chat from all my platforms, which right now, all my platforms is just Rumble and YouTube. So I'm not on any other platforms when it comes to videography or live streaming. And I'm still trying to figure out how to get a chat box on my OBS dashboard that I'm looking at when I'm talking here. So I'm going to load up my Rumble chat. So if you're not on Rumble, Rumble is definitely more free uh, for freedom of speech than YouTube is, and it has been that way for a while. And the community, the art community that I'm a part of, is definitely more active on Rumble than it is on YouTube. And they meet me in Rumble, so I default to that on my phone. So if you want to chat with me, then by all means, you can just know that I'm only looking at my Rumble chat because that is the extent of my technological abilities. Oops, I got to turn my volume down. There we go. I'm turning my volume down. Okay, so I got my uh, chat loaded up on my phone, I think. Well, I thought I did. It's acting wonky. There we go. Okay. Anywho, uh, anyway, so I've got my chat up on my phone anyway for Rumble. So if you're joining on YouTube, thank you for joining. Just know I can't see your chats because I don't have an extra screen for that. So I invite you though to come to Rumble and join us in the chat there if you've got a Rumble account. And if you don't have a Rumble account, get one. They're free. You know, yeah, you gotta deal with ads just like YouTube, but unless you buy into it. Uh, but yeah, Rumble's more fun, more dynamic, lots more people, great community. So come on over. Anyway, um, I'm gonna probably live stream for about an hour to an hour and a half, like I usually do. I don't like to go over that. And I don't have my phone shining down on my palette this time. I was trying to figure out how to add guests if someone wanted to join me, and unfortunately, I logged on too late, invited too late, just last minute. It never works out with last minute stuff, and that's okay. Hey, Frosty. Um, so yeah. Anyway, um, I'm going to get started on this. Last time I was working on the dresses, and I still got to continue to work on the dresses, and still got to work on that troublesome corner. And I need to get my palette going. Usually I have that ready to go, but the old palette was a little, it had the, what some of us artists call paint boogers, when the paint's starting to set on the palette and it starts to get sticky and it's not smooth anymore, uh, then you get paint boogers, and you don't want that on your painting. That's a big, big faux pas in the art world, so no paint boogers. But anywho, um, so yeah. So how is everyone tonight? I have been struggling all day to um, remember that it's Wednesday. You know, I'm here, it's Wednesday. I understand I got my live stream going, but all day it felt like Thursday to me, which is horrible because if it felt like Thursday, then tomorrow should be Friday. And so when I wake up tomorrow morning, it's only going to be Thursday and not yet closer to the weekend. So I hate when that happens. I'd rather think it's Tuesday and it's really Wednesday. And then I think, oh, bonus, I missed a day. I'm closer to the weekend, but that doesn't happen. uh, Anyhow, that's how it's been for me today. Trying to think, was there anything newsworthy? I've just been busy at work. My day job is very busy. Since we lost our coworker in September, I've been doing the work of two buyers instead of just me as a singular buyer, and that's pretty busy. Uh, so, um, so yeah, uh, it's been quite busy. I'm not poking into the group or online as much during the day as I normally would, which is probably okay. I'm not worried about it, but my participation is lower during the day. So anyway, I'm working on this one. A lot of people seem to be responding to this painting. They like the lighting, which of course is what I like about it and why I decided to paint it. The fact of the matter also is that back in the day, this old girl used to be a dancer. I started dancing when I was a little girl. The very first thing I ever did was I took a baton class in my elementary school. And I grew up in elementary school in Western Massachusetts. So I started off in New England. And and they had this huge baton class for elementary students. And it took up the whole gymnasium because, well, when you have little kids in elementary school handling batons, and there's at least 30 of them, you got to space them out because they're going to be tossing these things and probably going to hit somebody in the head, right? And I never thought about those things when I was a young girl, but they certainly probably did. So I remember in the gym, it was when we were all spaced out. And the very first dance or routine that we learned was to, here, I'm going to date myself right here, to the song by the Pointer Sisters called He's So Shy. I think that's what it was called. And so they taught us a baton routine to that song in the gym. In my memory, right here, I'm reliving it as I'm talking about it. And then ultimately, we ended up going into um, the local parade. I can't remember what the parade was for, uh, but anyway, that's what started my dance as a young girl, and I liked it so much that I begged my parents to take me to ballet and jazz and tap. I think the next thing was tap. So I started taking a tap dance class at the dance academy that was sponsoring the baton in the school system. And I remember we were getting ready to do our recital. And again, this was all new to me. And the recital, you have to wear a costume and you dance together with your classmates. And you didn't get to pick the outfit. They picked the outfit for the class to wear based on the choreography and the theme that they were trying to impart. And they had these little sailor outfits that I'm talking about dance while doing art, so forgive me, but this is what I'm talking about. Anyway, these sailor outfits. And again, I'm a little girl. I'm probably 7, maybe 8. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, and it had a top and a bottom, and your belly button showed. So you had your belly showing. And it was blue and white and red, and it was sailor-like, you know. And I was so upset that my belly button would show. I didn't want to wear it. And I didn't grow up with, you know, uh, parents that were highly religious or anything like that. And they weren't overtly, you know, I mean, well, they were protective of me, but I mean, they weren't like, you know, you shouldn't wear that. They just assumed I'd be okay with it. They were okay with it. And but yet I was a little embarrassed that my belly button would be showing because I'd be on stage in front of this big audience, which I had never done prior as a little girl. And so yeah, so that was a little scary for me, but I got over it because apparently then I went into jazz class. I took ballet. I took um, back then, breakdancing came out as this big old thing from the movies and whatever. They actually brought up a couple of guys from Boston to teach us how to breakdance at their dance academy. So I learned how to do that worm thing and spinning on your back on that thing. And yeah, that was so much fun. Um, and ultimately, I spent years dancing, years dancing. I even progressed to point ballet, where I was doing it on, you know, point ballet shoes and things like that. So I grew up in this dance academy, and one of the times it was 1982, and our dance academy was invited to march in the 1982 World's Fair in Knoxville, Tennessee. And my classes at the time, we had a jazz class, and the jazz class decided, you know, we were going to do a jazz routine in a marching setting with pom poms. And so my dance class was invited to participate in the 1982 World's Fair in Knoxville, Tennessee. And we had these uh, red and white um, outfits. They were unitards or, you know, leotards, and they had some sparkling tassels in the back. And then we had matching pom poms for that. We had to have a hat. And we got into formation in March. And of course, Knoxville at this time, hot, humid. I remember my close friend in the class suffered heat stroke from marching, and she had to be pulled out. And you know, they had to stuff ice down her thing just to get her to cool off. It was, yeah, yep. It was hot I managed to be okay, but I remember it was a bus drive down to Knoxville. We came from the Agawam, Massachusetts area. Okay, so that's where my dance studio was that I participated in. And we drove or rode in buses down to Knoxville from there. And I remember, I don't even remember the hotel we stayed in, but I remember that every time we needed to eat, they took us to this buffet place. And we got sick of that so fast. And I don't even remember the name of it, but that's what I remember. I remember the big ball on top of the tower. I remember, um, I barely remember much anything else, I think, at this point in time. But yeah, that was a memorable thing to have performed in the 1982 World's Fair. And it's funny because back in the day, and excuse me as I'm trying to figure out where my source picture is to look at. Back in a day when we were doing this, my current husband, my husband now, Ron, Crazy Bear for you, he was living as a young guy with his parents, I think in Florida at the time, or maybe he was in Georgia by that time, I don't know, but they decided to go up to Knoxville for the 1982 World's Fair. And he was in the crowds watching the parades. And he remembers seeing all the pretty girls in the red and white checkered leotards marching in the parade. So, in this, we didn't know each other then. Obviously, I lived in Massachusetts at the time. He was down south here. And who knew that we would, all these years later, meet, fall in love, and get married? And it was just interesting that I started talking about that. He's like, but hey, I was there. I remember seeing the parades. I remember seeing those outfits. I must have seen you. It was just really cool that we were that close, that young, and never knew that later on we would meet again and get married. That to me, that's just so cool. But in any case, I digress. Totally off topic. But anyway, um, I just find that to be fun to talk about. And it's a fond memory. But anyway, let me see if I can't get to. Aha! There's my painting. There it is. Maybe I get the webcam off. Nope. There we go. There we go. Let's see if I can't. There we go. All right. So I know, right, Frosty? Are you working on anything tonight, Frosty? Because I know last week you were working on that oil oil painting with water that you eventually posted in the group, and that was fantastic, fantastic. So I just wondering if you're working on something new this week. So let's see. I think I'm going to work on. I need to work on this corner. I'm going to work on the troublesome corner tonight. Down in here, if you're seeing this. Yeah. Okay. All right. I think I need to. All right. I need purples and blues. Purples and blues. So I'm going to mix some purples and blues. I've got permanent crimson and ultramarine blue. I think I'm going to mix for a purple and see what that gets me. You're about to start one. So what are you going to be painting? A landscape? Or are you trying something different? I know, didn't you do a fox painting for a family member? Or am I remembering that differently? I'm just wondering what you're painting this time. Your paintings are amazing because you're just great at the detail. You must have amazing patience, and I don't. I don't have amazing patience. I tend to want to hurry up and get it done, and you must. I don't know how you do it. I I really do need to probably practice patience. And what size do you normally work on? All right. Am I getting a good purple here or what? think I'm getting a rosy red purple, and I don't really want the red. I think I want a more blue purple. So I'm going to add a little bit more blue, get a cooler purple. So I got a red purple and a bluer purple. That should do. I got purple. What else do I need? I had to pick up the old swatches of orange that I had previously because they were starting to set. Oh, I'm missing a yellow. Okay, that explains that. There we go. The fall foliage, but 11 by 14 here. Well, that makes sense. I can't imagine you doing the kind of detail that you do on a larger format. Although I can see you doing it if you wanted to, but boy, at the detail that you really pull those out at, I don't know how you would do it. Um, but and if you're wondering who I'm talking to, if you're not on Rumble, I'm talking to my friend Frosty Pimpanon on Rumble. He's joining me. He's been joining me every Wednesday, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Frosty. Um, you're a good guy. Um, he's also part of our Artist Corner group that is head up by Lady Hamilton Art, whom is on Rumble all the time because she does podcasts as well as an artist. And she is interviewing artists on Friday nights and Saturday nights. And then she does some other like worldview and cooking on Sundays and Mondays. So she's definitely right up there with podcasts. She's much more of a pro at it than I am. There we go. I needed to get that darker. And then I got to squint for value. All right. So let's see. Let's see here. Yeah, I I am not a pro at this whole live streaming business, but that's okay. I try to learn something new about it each time I do it. I am not that good at it, but I'm not opposed to learning. This weekend coming up, um, okay, you'll have to. I can't wait to see what it is, Frosty, that you're working on, because I love to see what you're doing. Um, this weekend, Ron and I are going. Ron is my husband, if you don't know. But Ron and I are hosting another game night or game day. It always starts in the afternoon and goes way into the evening hours because it involves a lot of people and a lot of collaboration. People are trying to figure out how they want to um, play the game and what moves they want to make and all that stuff. And so I'm scumbling here more than anything else. I'm trying to get values reestablished because I didn't really get values well here. So yeah, I'm trying to get there. So yeah, on Saturday, we will be playing uh, my husband's RPG game. He is been creating uh, an RPG, which is a tabletop role-playing game, if you don't know. Sort of like Dungeons and Dragons, if you're familiar with that. And but it's his own world. He's been creating it for the past several years, and we're waiting for. We got our printings coming in of his books that he's been working on all this time because we got players coming on Saturday that wanted it. Unfortunately, the printer is not done with it like we were hoping. So they're not coming in time for the game, but people will come back and get those later. So we're excited for that, but we got to really get going on all the other things going on with it. Okay, I do have a wrong value down here. All right, trying to reestablish some things here that were not very well done the first go around. And that's the beauty with painting. If it dries, you can paint over it, whether it's acrylic or oil, whichever one you're working in. Of course, you can never do acrylic over oil, but you can do oil over acrylic. And once you switch to oil, you can't go back. So I've been in the oil stage of this, and so I gotta do that. There's the back of the knee. The back of the leg. So yeah, I'm having a hard time in this corner, but I swear I'm gonna get this right. So I gotta get that done here. So yeah, I love this painting. I just want to get it done though, because I'm ready to move on to the next one, but I won't do it. I won't do it until I've got this one done. So I have to have discipline. Discipline. Yeah. So how is Mrs. Frosty this evening? How's she doing? My husband's been working on getting ready for the Saturday gameplay, so that's what he's doing tonight. I gotta get a blue that is a little lighter. Mixing more on my palette tonight than I am on the canvas. But that looks like what I need it to be. Need a little bit of a, to desaturate a little bit, because it's a shadow blue. So yeah, let me know how the missus is doing. Busy, busy, yeah. I understand that feeling, totally. Totally. I've been so busy. I keep thinking, I keep, you know, realizing that my schedule is so bad that I really need to start prioritizing certain things uh, that I haven't been. And I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know. All right, there is very little difference in value here. Hmm. Oh, I hope one day, one of these nights that I was doing this painting, I don't, you can see I don't have gloves, um, but I had somehow gotten glue on my fingers, and I did this. I didn't realize I had turned my nose blue, and the husband unit, when I went to go talk to him after the live stream was done, he's like, "You got a blue nose, Smurf." Yeah, the perils of painting, right? So painting uh, with without gloves and without thought to what your hands are doing if you're not careful. But there is, I don't know if you see this, but I'm looking at my source picture, and there is very little value difference this side of the dress versus the underside of the dress. But there's a definite line of demarcation, and I'm trying to get it, but I don't think I can do it with values. I'm going to try to zoom in on this real quick. Let's see if I can zoom in without zooming the webcam. There we go. So yeah, I got it big now. But yeah, you see the dress. The dress in the reference photo is kind of being lifted up by the air and the movement of the dancer. And there is a definite hem of this dress. And so this is the back side, and this is the underside. And in the reference photo that I generated, there's very little value difference, although there is a slight darkening on the outside. See, that's the only time, Frosty, I can paint is in the evenings because I'm working all day. So that's, just the way it is, because oops, what am I doing here? Oh, camcorder. What am I doing? I'm trying to figure out how to get this back up. So it's not, there we go. I'm doing this left-handed, the mousing for this, I'm doing it left-handed. And I don't know what this is. What is that? There we go. I was getting confused on my OBS. Something was unlocked and I was trying to move around the webcam. Excuse me. And something else was being highlighted. It was my phone, which was defunct at the moment. Anyway, so yeah, I'm trying to get this delineated, and it's hard to do when the values are pretty much the same. But this is definitely lighter, so I've got to try to go a little lighter. It's not by much, but it's enough. And I gotta, again, I don't know if you remember last week, but I was saying how every time I come back to this painting, I see it a little differently each time. And that is so true. I see it a little differently each time. So. But yeah, anyhow. So are you painting then tonight, Frosty? Or are you just kind of hanging out with me, chit-chatting? I think the back side of this dress is more of a red purple than it is a blue purple, where the underside is more of a blue purple. And this dress essentially dissolves into the darkness of the background here. So the dress, the background, it's all the same tone for a value. And so you lose the hem of the dress there. There is a little bit more of a lighter blue. Here, work on the composition. Very nice. Yeah, the next painting that I've been working on, kind of giving sneak peeks for this week, is the second one in my Admirable Masculinity series. That the first painting I did for that was my cowboy a couple years ago, and I've had all these ideas about what I want to represent in that series. And the last painting I want to do is that of the father figure, because one of the biggest root causes, in my personal opinion, of the problems that we have in society, especially with the young, is the fatherlessness that um, that we're seeing in our country. And so I I want the father to be the last one I do in the masculinity series, and this needs to come up because I think that is the most important uh, masculine figure that society needs to uphold more than most things. I mean, each masculine figure, don't get me wrong, has importance. But the father figure, I already kind of know what I want to do for that. Right now, it's just a fuzzy idea. I'm not very good at envisioning things in my head and then translating it to paper. That's more Ron's field of expertise. But I do know the ideas that I have for it, um, and I want to run with it, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. So I'm doing iconic kind of like the cowboy is an icon of masculinity. And so this next one, yes, yes, you did. You saw trees. This next one is a fireman. Again, just like the cowboy, where we see him from behind, we don't see his face, so he's anonymous. He's an icon. It's the kind of person that a cowboy can embody is the fireman. The fireman is a rescuer, is a preserver of the environment as much as they can be, a savior of lives, um, uh, someone you should be able to count on, strong. They have to be strong. Not to say that women can't be firemen, but only women who can do the same lifting as a man should be in that role. And that's why the fireman role is mostly men, and that's okay. Men are made to be more rugged. They're more strong. They're more, and I'm okay with that because the complement of that is women who are um, feminine, and they have their roles, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's very complementary, um, the roles that men and women have. I wonder if you can see, am I getting in the way? Maybe, but you can see I got that redefined. I think that helps. I think I might have to do an arbitrary darker line here, even though it's not really in the visual. I still have to work these legs. Those legs are so tricky. But yeah, so it's going to be an abstract realism of the the fireman. In this case, it's a forest fireman kind of personality icon. I saw a photograph of this lone fireman standing, looking over the landscape, which is what you saw the trees of, Frosty, and then I that photo was, royalty free. I wasn't taking anyone's. I would never do that. And I'm just using it as a baseline, um, to to generate an idea for composition. And so I did. And I took it, I did a mirror reversal of the photograph, and then I used a software program to kind of muck around with some of the colors, sort of like what I did with this, because the colors here in this painting are very vibrant orange and blues. That's not actually in the original photograph. It's definitely more subdued. I really wanted to play around with color. I love color and I love light, extreme light. And so that's what I did was I mucked around with filters until I got a color palette I really liked. And so um, that's what I did with the dancers. And so I kind of did something similar to the source photo that I'm working with for firemen. Trying to get this reestablished. I'm going to have to lighten this up. But so yeah, so that's where I'm kind of working on these firemen. I had another idea for the rugged masculinity, um, but I'm not sure if it makes sense. I wanted to kind of do like a blacksmith, right? Um, and I don't know if that makes a lot of sense. There's not a lot of blacksmiths, but blacksmiths are strong. They're masculine most of the time. Um, they're creative because they're forming uh, things from molten metal, really. Um, and so I don't know. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but that's still bouncing around in my head. Um, but in any case, so yeah, the abstract realism, and I really am looking forward to. I think I could finish the fireman one pretty quickly, actually. Um, once I get this one done, I'm not jumping the gun. You know, I'm going to get this one done first. But I think I'm making headway on trying to correct some of this here. But man, is it hard. I got to switch up my brushes. I tend to use one brush and stick to it and forget to switch up my brush based on size or need or whatever. Um, so, gotta sometimes remember that. You think the blacksmith is a great idea? Okay, that's good. I'm glad I got your vote. And then again, you know, and uh, I uh, I used to play Skyrim, like the only video game. And every now and then I still play it, but it's been a while since I picked up a controller because I just don't have that kind of time to muck around with it. But I thought, you know, of the blacksmiths in the Skyrim game, and I thought, man, could I do like this? Again, I'm always thinking about high contrast lighting, like somebody, some blacksmith working either as night falls or at night around a glowing, I forget the word for it, but hearth or whatever, where all the hot coals are. And so the glow of that is kind of coming up, but then there's the sun or the moonlight coming down. So you got two kinds of light, the warmth of the coals of the forge, yes, the forge on the anvil with sparks flying, but then you've got the moonlight on a full moon, maybe kind of shining on him with subtle, soft lighting. And I thought, man, that sounds way difficult. What the heck am I thinking? And then it becomes more of a fantasy piece. And am I stepping too far away from the whole? Well, not really. It's masculine. It's a What's in my mind, as fuzzy as it is a very masculine image. So I guess I'm not getting away from that. Maybe I've imposed or superimposed a realism because the icons I'm choosing are realistic icons. But the blacksmith, I tend to think more in a fantasy kind of environment because of the Skyrim gameplay. I don't know. I'm being kind of a dork, I guess. That's the gaming dork in me. Not that there's much gaming in me, but anywho, that's kind of what I'm thinking. The other ideas that I had for the masculinity series is maybe doing the warrior. And so I'm thinking modern day would be a Marine or an Army guy, special forces or something in the heat of it, you know, the warrior, the battle spirit of the masculine. Uh, what else? Also the pastoral role. people don't think of that as masculine, or they think of it as not as masculine and as other things. But scripturally, men in the home are the spiritual head. They are the ones that should be leading the home in the spiritual sense. And ultimately, that's one of the most important roles for men. In my humble opinion, I think also there's a basis in scripture for that. And I thought, man, that would be a good one to do as well. Um, it's not as rugged per se as a fireman fighting a battle, fire in the forest, or a blacksmith hammering on molten metal, but spiritually fighting battles is a huge, huge thing. That that is an important part of it, you know. So I think there's going to be a pastoral kind of image. There's going to be a warrior image of some kind. There's going to be the fireman, which is a rugged thing. I could get away with doing the rugged with the fireman and not do the blacksmith. But I like the idea of the blacksmith because it's not only rugged, but also creative. Creative, practical, all in one. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm thinking anyway. um, and then, because I've done a couple, I had two series going. It was the Admirable Masculinity series, but then also the lesser known historical figures was the other series I was working on, which would consist of Hadassah, Queen Esther, which is the painting I recently sold um, and have prints of now. Um, Queen Esther from the Bible, and then also um, Hedy Lamarr from the 50s, 40s and 50s, because she was World War um, era. And so I've got at least two in that series. And so I'd like to get the second one, the fireman, done, and then maybe start on a third. I got to think of somebody else for the lesser known historical figures, you know, and try to come up with another person to recognize or paint or whatever. That would be really cool, but I don't know who that's going to be yet. So, all right. So yeah, those are the series I'm doing. Of course, these dancers don't really fit into any one of those. I just liked the image so much, I wanted to paint something different. Sometimes you gotta take a break from the intentional creativity to something that just is fun to paint and pleasing to the eye. And so, yeah. All right, got some that I need to do. Trying to get this leg to look normal. Boy, is this hard. Oh my gosh. You go from orange to a green and then a purple. It is a weird, weird color palette here. And I probably got the wrong size brush for this. It's okay, I'm gonna get there. I have to paint it over again. It is. This painting is off the charts. But I think with each stab at it, I do better. And one of these, I gotta get some more brights here. And like this here, let me see, is actually more white than I have. And again, my camcorder is probably washing this out a little bit, but that's what it is right now. So, but yeah, this is a difficult one. But boy, and I'll be real proud if I can get this done right. Um, because this is definitely facing the sun. It should be brighter than what it is. I got the ring light reflecting off of my palette and it's making it hard to see. I really, really want this one to come out. See here. I'm holding my breath doing this. Anyway, let's see here. Uh, Holding my breath. Maybe what I'll do is I need to get a smaller brush. I need to get something that is more intentional, has better spring, but is also smaller to do some more detailed work because I'm using this filbert, but it's still too big. I don't know if you can see that. I'm using this filbert. And I need something maybe smaller. To get some of these details. Trying to see what I got for small. I got a small one there. I got tons of brushes, but not enough small ones. Well, I got small ones, but I use them more for watercolor because they're more sable than they are for the acrylic and the oil. Because I got a lot of small ones. I wonder though if I should use those. Do you use the more sable, like, well, you do all the detail, Frosty. What kind of brushes do you use? Do you use these ones? I I I see these more as watercolor ones than I do these. They're all various different kinds. I don't know if you can see that; it's not focusing. But these are all very detailed brushes, and they got good spring to them. I'm wondering if maybe I should try to use one of these. For this painting. And as long as I'm pretty good about washing my brushes, I would assume I should be able to use that. So this is very, very, very skinny. So see. Wonder. Let's see. I'm gonna try. I need to make a seafoam green. I had that before, but I had to take it up because it said a seafoam green is rampant throughout this painting, believe it or not. Very subtle. You only see it when you're up close. I got too much blue. I need more white than I need blue. And I need to add a little yellow to this. See if I can't get a seafoam green. Not nuclear green, Stephanie, seafoam green. Have you ever gotten you use filberts for blocking in, but then dagger and rigger brushes? Yeah, I could see that for you because you're very detailed. Like I said, God bless you, Frosty, because holy cow, I am not patient. I think that's why I resist using these smaller brushes because it takes a lot longer to finish a painting with such a small brush, if you know what I mean, Jelly Bean. So let's see here. Trying to get a seafoam green. This is a little too, maybe if I do some yellow ochre to tone down the chroma. I should have put my camera up on the palette, but I didn't get to that tonight. That way you could see me mixing this. All right, that's getting better. That's better. Seafoam. That's what I want right there. All right, let's see if I can't get some of this. We'll see what happens with this. Maybe I can get this. Really? You have to share about that in a post or something. I would love to see the before paintings that you used to do versus what you do now. I would think that would be so cool to see the transformation. And you just said you woke up and that was kind of what you decided to do. That's so interesting. Was there any impetus for that, or just spontaneous? I mean, was there something that inspired you and you just decided that's what you were going to do from now on? Let's see here. So in these ruffles are the seafoam green. Down here, seafoam green. Now there's some seafoam green in here. some seafoam green on the back here. See, already I have to get more paint on this little brush, but let's see here. There's a lot of seafoam green in this dress, but I got a lot of that in there last time. Just kind of throwing paint on a canvas and enjoying it, and I actually thought about learning. Huh. Very cool. You probably talked about this in one of your interviews that I must have missed. So I apologize for that. I tell you, it'd be nice to be able to see everybody's, but I can't always get there. Lady Hamilton's going to have me on November 15th. It would be my my third time being interviewed as the only artist. My fourth time on her show because one of those times was me and Ron. I loved the one with me and Ron. We're a team, he and I. There it is. Yeah, this small brush is driving me to drink. But I think it's important to practice patience, Stephanie, patience. So, and then there is but it's just not. Hmm. All right, that's too small. Let me try a different brush. Let me try slightly bigger and a little bit more. Oh, I tell you, this is so hard. This will get on my nose if I'm not careful. Oh my gosh. You like how I hold my brush as well? I have to say uh, I used to hold them like this. Obviously, when I was like this, I gotta return this back up to normal size, I guess. Um, but one of the things I've learned watching others is you want to be more loose about getting a painting started and that you're not so tight with it. You know, you have to hold it more this way and move your whole arm. And part of me understands that, and part of me is like, that has zero control. But that's the point, right? But when you get down to the brass tacks of details, you kind of need to have a more focused look. So there's nothing wrong with this, but I guess to start off a painting this way is probably very limiting. And I have found that to be the truth when it comes to starting a painting. So they say it conventional, common, whatever you want to call it, wisdom is back to front, work from back to front, dark to light, and big to small. Um, that is the conventional wisdom, the comfortable wisdom. So obviously, when you're working on a big canvas like this and you're doing this background, um, I used this one at first to lay in big swaths of color, which made sense to do because you're working on a big canvas, you don't have any of the figures in, you're trying to get that background back to front and get the big to small. So that really made a lot of sense with this canvas for sure. But boy, this is a scary thing, unless you're working on a super huge canvas and it puts this in perspective, right? But this isn't super huge, but it's certainly not small. So, but, uh, but yeah, but when it comes to details, like all this is wet. I don't know if you use the same kind of tool as I'm going to show here. But I got this is balsa wood. Most people get a dowel, but my husband thought it would be better to have a squared off one that would then be able to rest on the top of the canvas. So like if I want to, let's say all of this is wet, right? But I need to get at this detail with a finer brush. But I don't, if I go up against it like this, I could get paint on my hand and then muck it up. So this, that gives you a rest. You hold it with the other hand. And you rest and you paint. And it gives you control when you're going in tight for the detail. Um, Most people have a thing on the end to keep it from sliding off the canvas. I'm never that dependent on it to have to do that. But having the squared off balsa wood does keep it easier to keep it from slipping on the canvas. But I find that to be handy. So I don't know if you have one of those, but or if you use one, you probably do. Yeah, so like here, if I wanted to, all of this is wet. If I tried to get in tight to do any details, I could easily smudge paint. So that's when that comes in handy. But in any case, I'm at about an hour. Feel like I haven't done much again, but I am making progress on this. It still looks like a mess, but things are starting to get tighter in terms of proportion and the like. There's just so many colors I see. I'm going to have to maybe not try to represent all the colors and make it less detailed. I don't know. But in any case, I thought I'd share up close um, the painting that I've been doing. Let me see if I can take this one down for a second. Put this one up. Can you see that? Yeah. Okay. So, and those watching have a preview that I wasn't really going to announce, but this is my next painting. Right now, this is all acrylic and it's dry already because acrylic dries so fast. But this is the abstract background. This one is 24 by 30 inches, so 30 inches by 24. Um, and I'm going to place my fireman here in the foreground, standing on a rock formation, looking out over this landscape. And again, this is an abstraction. I'm going to see if I can't bring that in closer so you can see. But yeah, this is a preview I wasn't going to share, but since you're online with me and joining me, and I'm trying to do this with my left hand. Apologize. Zoomed in here. But you can see I let drippage happen, but over here, uh, I did some wet washes of color, and then I came in with a Q-tip while it was still wet, and I took paint off in different abstract lines and things like that. It's just abstraction to give atmosphere. There is a horizon of, or a landscape horizon that's implied here, but yeah, I'm gonna use my right hand to bring this back down. I can't do it with my left hand. But yeah, so that's, you can see the trees and the implication of trees and more abstract brush strokes of white color, of mist, and whatever. And then I'm going to be painting the fireman, who's going to be in the extreme foreground um, here. So this will get painted over. And then I'll probably do some more touch-ups in the forest here with oil because oil is so rich and it'll probably help accentuate what I'm trying to do. But yeah, that's my next one. So you can see why I'm excited. This is all right now acrylic, but it's all dry, so it's ready to go for oil. I'd love to get started on it, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna hold myself accountable and get my dancer's painting done first, because that's the responsible thing to do. I always, I have found that I get going on a painting. I love the Stancer's painting, but some of it's bogging down because it's difficult, like that corner I worked on all night. Eh, The tonight, all night, the last time, and the night before, right? You know, and I'm painting over things, and it's like, oh, when am I going to get this right? And it's because, you know, every time I come back, I see it slightly different than I did before. It's very muddled because there's so much going on with the ruffles and the colors and the light. And so when I get bogged down like that, I tend to avoid it or only work on it like for half hour to an hour at a time, and then I walk away. Like I can't deal with it, you know. And so I'm now in the throes of, oh, another passionate painting. I can do this one, but then I might get bogged down in this one too. And I don't want to start something and not finish it. I don't want to be a person that never finishes or doesn't finish well or whatever. So, but yeah, so that's what's going to be. It's a different palette altogether than my Dancers by the Sea one. Um, but yeah, so this week to kind of round out uh, my live stream here, this coming week after the weekend, obviously, I'm going to go pick up my 3 artworks from the Creative Arts Guild. They have been on exhibition since uh, September 20th, 19th. Yeah. Um, I'm, it'd be nice if they have sold, but if they haven't, that's okay. I'll bring them home and they will be used in my tent events, whatever that next one will be. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep plugging away at this, at the dancers one. I'm going to try to figure out the next composition. So when these are done, I'm moving on to the next. I got to pump out paintings so that come next spring, and I want to try to do a tent event, I have enough artwork to fill up the tent walls in 1 or 2 mediums. You know, you can't just have a variety. They don't do that in the art-centric art festivals unless you manage to jury all categories that you apply for, and there's no guarantee that you do. So yeah, things I learned. But anyway, I'm gonna go back to the webcam here. There we go. But anyway, thanks, Frosty, for chatting with me on Rumble. If you're watching and you're kind of lurking in the background, that's okay. I hope you don't mind my Chitter chatter. Uh, I didn't do a ton because I was working with small paintbrushes. It doesn't do a lot, but I do have better looking corner. So yeah, I'm going to try to pick up something else that will give me a feeling like I've accomplished more. I am going to get my fireman probably drawn in on this, but I'm not going to paint him until I'm done with my Dancers by the Sea. But I am going to get him situated in the composition. So, but anyway, thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching. Thanks for chatting with me, Frosty. Give my regards to your missus for me, and I appreciate you joining me. It's great to help keep me honest about painting, keeping me doing it every week. Um, anyway, get to know each other. So thanks for joining. Press like, smash that like button, the subscribe button, comment, share, whatever you feel like doing. I am not high tech, so you may not want to, and that's okay. Anyway, have a good night. Maybe I'll do this again next Wednesday because if there's a time I'll do it, it'll be on a Wednesday so I don't interrupt other people. Hey, princess. All right. Well, have a good night, everybody. Talk to you next week. Have a great weekend.